introduce you with our first presenters, Kim Fox, American University in Cairo, Associate Professor of Practice. Please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us for this session. I want to talk about e-portfolios and how I use them in the classroom to assess student work. I'll start with a brief definition of an e-portfolio. I assume that you know, but I don't want to make too many assumptions. It's a digital or online portfolio, a collection of electronic evidence. It could include photos, blog entries, or hyperlinks, and a number of other items. So this is the focus of my presentation. First, I want to talk about, give you a preview of what the presentation will cover. And I will highlight the relevance and purpose of e-portfolios, the kinds of users who can benefit from using them, the pros and cons of using e-portfolios, also how to create them, and tools that are used to create them, as well as rubrics that can be utilized for this particular assignment. In terms of the relevance of e-portfolios, there is an e-portfolio conference that takes place and has been taking place for, this year will be the 14th e-portfolio conference. So there obviously is some sort of relevance if colleagues are getting together to discuss this topic. Additionally, there is an international journal that's been published since 2011, and that journal is focused on e-portfolios specifically. As it relates to the purpose of e-portfolios, this is kind of extensive. I find that it's a really great tool for reflection. As you can see, student assessment from the first assignment, maybe the first week of class, until their final projects at the end of a semester. It's also a great tool to showcase work. And this could be great for, say, with a business or an MBA program. And again, talking about graduate work and reflection, you can see this showcase of work over time. And finally, from the Association of American Colleges and Universities, they came up with this statement, which is really relevant to what we're doing here. E-portfolios is an ideal format for collecting evidence of student learning, and especially for these things that may have a different kind of format, a different kind of assessment. It's not the traditional kind of assignment. So this also is really applicable to what we're doing here with the AMICAL institutions. The kinds of users for e-portfolios is also a variety. I find that it's an obviously good tool for media, which is my field of study in journalism and mass communication. We find that it's a really good portal to have that body of work to showcase potential people of interest. It's the same for business. You're looking at future employers or prospective employers, I should say. They can see all of your work in one place, and it's a really great way to highlight that work as a full synopsis. And finally, it's obviously great for academia. If faculty are publishing a variety of work over an extended period of time, you can see all of that material in one place. And so we find that the users of e-portfolios is quite extensive. I've already talked about some of the pros of using e-portfolios. I do want to highlight some of the cons of using e-portfolios. We're finding that, Web 2.0, a lot of businesses are being phased out for a variety of reasons. And with that phase out, your data, your material, your archive, your life, your work is also gone. And what do we do about that? Obviously, you want to figure out ways to archive. The other thing about e-portfolios is you do have to make sure you keep it fresh. If you've attended 5 conferences in this past year, but you haven't documented that, you need to make sure that information is up to date online. So maybe you want to make some notations of saying, maybe every month to go to the e-portfolio to update it. Some of the tools for creating e-portfolios, you could use LinkedIn. It's an ideal place to start. You probably already have that account. Make sure you keep it up to date. It's great for students to get on that platform as professional, or it should be. Another tool that could be used for the e-portfolio is Weebly. This is what I use in class, and I'll show you one example of student work on the Weebly platform. Why do I like Weebly? I like it because it's intuitive. It's really easy to use. The students don't have to know HTML, which is great. It's a drag and drop platform. So, and it has a very professional look. I don't have any external uses for Weebly, but it is what I use, and it is easy. WordPress is a little bit more sophisticated. You have to kind of get into that HTML, which could be a bit intimidating for some people. And the same thing for Wix. Wix has a really great look to it, but take some time to get to know it and understand all of the intricacies of that platform. Medium is a blogging platform, but people are using it in some really creative ways, like to create syllabi for their courses. So it's also another good platform that you could use for your e-portfolio. And finally, Prezi. It's a great platform, easy to use or somewhat easy to use. And a lot of people are creating resumes on Prezi. So maybe you want to consider that one as well. What do you want to include in your e-portfolio? It's obvious. You want to include and highlight your best work. It's just a given, which is kind of difficult for students, especially if you're a freshman. You did an assignment that wasn't your best work, even though you had a chance to do some corrections to material. But by the time you get to your senior year, you should probably be phasing out that earlier work to highlight your best work. And the same thing about accuracy. This is what I run into in my journalism courses, that students' work it needs to be reviewed. You need to have fresh eyes look at that e-portfolio to make sure it is an accurate representation and it's very professional. Finally, I want to talk about the rubric for working on a project like this. The rubric will include a couple of different elements. This assignment is naturally built in to utilize the Bloom's taxonomy approach, where there is some creation, there's evaluation, there's an analysis, they're applying, they're understanding, remembering. All of these components are already built into the assignment, because what I do is their e-portfolio is a synopsis of every assignment they've done in the course, with feedback from the professor to then upload and have their best work online. So they get to see it and kind of look at, wow, I didn't realize we did all of this work. So it's a natural build-in. The accountability part is important. This is a graded assignment. Otherwise, people tend to fall off and not really appreciate it. So when there is accountability in terms of the set of grades, students are more likely to put more effort into it. And finally, for the assessment, what are we looking at? I'm looking at the professionalism. What is the quality of writing? Again, the accuracy and good writing in that regard as well. What is the layout? Does it look professional? And most of these platforms are going to give you a nice, sleek look, so that's really helpful. And finally, the use of text and attribution. Some students don't use their own photos, so we want to make sure that they're doing the proper attribution for material that is not theirs. There may be a few more details for assessment if I'm using other multimedia components to this assignment. And finally, for an example of a student e-portfolio. I had a student last fall, and I think she's a sophomore, relatively young, but she really put together a nice e-portfolio that I want to show you if I have the time to do that. I do have a few minutes. So we'll come right back to that in just a moment. I'm all over social media, but specifically the last link is what you may want to take note of. It's where all the resources are from this presentation, including this presentation, and more student examples of e-portfolios. I'm going to try to show you the one that we just I do not like. Here's the online resource that I mentioned with all of the material. So everything is there, and here is the student page. I'm just going to go through this as best I can. My apology. Apparently I'm out of time. I thought she said I had 60 seconds. I work in radio. I'm down to the last second. But my apology. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, and the next our presenters is Dr. Anguelina Popova, American University of Central Asia. And Dr. Anguelina Popova is a director of Center for Teaching, Learning and Technology at American University of Central Asia.
Thank you, Katina. The lady is actually my boss. Wow, my boss.
Good boss.
So she will also see the first time with you some ongoing research that I'm doing with my students. So I want to say a few things first. Being in this conference is great, and I learn a lot from everyone. And it's very challenging to present the last day because there are so many things that happen for the last 2 days. Many things that I have heard made me rethink or think in a different way what is it that I'm doing. And on the top of this, my last class was last week. So everything is very fresh in my head. So if I'm not very clear in what I'm saying, please excuse me. It's really a process. So I wanted to share with you how I use student-generated digital projects. And this semester I decided to put these digital projects in a different framework as research projects. So what is student-generated content? Everything. Essays that they write, their senior thesis, research papers that they do, their Facebook content, their Instagram photos, and blogs or wikis or websites that they do, whether they're doing individually because they have an interest in something or because we make them do these projects, and I make them do these projects all the time. Our students also do, especially business students, do some small commercials, video commercials, they do social ads as well. And although in most of the cases when it's within the university settings or within a course, they need to have an assignment, but they also have some questions that they need to answer. They have to design surveys, they need to analyze data, and I realized that our students are taught research methods only in their third year. But they do have to do research papers earlier. So the first problem I found was, do we explain to them what is research paper, and what is the research they have to do when they reach fourth year? And I also wondered, is it possible that the students do research earlier and that we teach them how to do this? The course that I'm teaching is called Digital Literacy, and digital literacy has information literacy, media literacy, visual literacy, ICT, and so on. So a big chunk of what I'm doing is having students learn how to evaluate information online, how to find academic resources, but I also try to make them read these academic resources. So, sorry, I hate PowerPoint presentations. I think I'm just going to drop this and I'm going to keep talking. It's too linear for me, and I just can't think in that way. So what I wanted to use, based on the experience, I've been teaching this course for 3 years. So I realized that students can be very creative. The moment I stopped giving them specific topics to work on, they just exploded. They did wonderful things. And so I'll tell you by the end of this presentation what happened once I told them, now you're doing a research project. It wasn't what I expected. So for me, it was very important to know that students actually are doing, investigating or researching something they are interested in. With some students, I have to work a little bit more deciding what is it that they're interested in. How do they ask a research question? And I found out that they have to be prompted all the time. This semester I had probably 99% of the students were freshmen. So there was a lot of work to do with them. So what I wanted them to do is come up with a research question. We had some exercises before that, so they knew what is a research question. As I said, with some of them we had to work a little bit more. If you can't come up with a research question, let's think of a topic that you're interested in, read some academic literature on that, and see if there is something you can contribute. I emphasize on the fact that they are going to make this as their findings an answer to their question, and they also have to have a meaning to the community. Our new campus is kind of isolated, so the easiest audience or the easiest group they can reach to do their research with students. So we also had projects related to the new campus and learning spaces and so on. So I emphasized on this. What is the message you want to leave to the community? And because you're doing it in a your project in a digital way, you can use sound and visuals to emphasize this message. So I want to make one point here. I didn't think of this experiment as active learning or discovery learning. I wanted it to be a very strictly guided instruction. So I have over 50 students, and it's a 3-credit course, and it's very hard because I made a little survey at the end, and I found out that they do, I'll show you what that's in the outcomes of this experiment, but they did need guidance. They say they needed more guidance with technology. How much time do I have? 3 minutes, okay. So they said that they needed guidance with technology, but I figured out that they needed guidance with conceptualizing their problems. So when I said that I found something I absolutely didn't expect, is when they didn't think of their projects as research projects, technically they did better work. Because they focused, their projects were simpler, and they focused on how to make everything smoother. When they had to do research projects, they had to deal more with designing a survey, analyzing the data from the survey. And a lot of them used cameras to film their interviewees. And there are students who went in the city and they took interviews, but then they made a survey with 200 people. And these were the people, these were the students actually, I didn't know what they were going to present at the last class. So what I take from this is I could use student-generated digital projects to assess whether they have acquired skills in information literacy. They had to make references, they had to show me what they have read. So this is one way to use the digital projects for assessing information literacy skills. The second one is assessing visual literacy skills. So they had to choose images to convey a message. They also used sounds. One student played music on the piano, she recorded herself, and this was the background music of her project, which was about cyberbullying. And it made me realize that the research they do becomes very personal. And then the problem is, I don't think we have to assess this, but it's part of their creativity. But I think it's a very powerful message that not only you can assess learning through these projects, but you can empower them to think, to be creative, to be engaged in the research that they are doing. I have spent a lot of time during my PhD, and because I spent a lot of time, at the end I was probably less attached to the topic than I was at the very beginning. For them, they have 3 months, but realistically they spend the last 3 weeks. Not to say that some spent only 3 days, and it shows that they didn't spend time. And when they watch other people's projects, they're like, I need to redo this. This is not okay. I'm not saying anything interesting. My message is not strong enough. And I wanted to refer to what Doris was saying the first day of the conference with metacognition. What I try to do, and this is not in the outcomes here, but it's something I would like to investigate more, is I made them think of what is it that they know already about the group they are studying, about the problem that they are approaching. And then I tell them, okay, now go and read what other people have said, investigated about this, and what is it that you can bring. And this empowers them. And I think it's worth teaching students, helping them do research, starting from the first year of university, because they become more critical to themselves, to their learning, to what they read, and they become more engaged. And I think it's something I would like to continue to propose and not enforce, but really emphasize on at my institution, that we can make students realize their power, intellectual, emotional, creativity, starting from the very beginning of their university studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Popova. And next our presenters is Mohammed Ibahrine, American University in Sharjah, Associate Professor.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. No, it's on the desktop. Okay. Hi everyone, thank you. First, I'm really happy to be here with you. Thank you for the organizer for the invitation and for everything. Um, Today I would like to talk to you about my proposal, academic startups incubators. By the way, this is just a proposal. I have submitted this to my head of department, who approached the dean, and now next week we'll have a meeting. So anyway, yeah, I will start my talk with this statement from His Highness, the ruler of Dubai. So he said, "We are building a new reality for our people and a new future for our children and a new model of development." So for me, the starting point is the idea of the new model of development. So of course there are a number of models of development, but the new one means the one that is based on knowledge-based technology. Because briefly we have the three stages: the agri societies, and industrial societies, and knowledge-based societies. For some countries, in this case the United Arab Emirates, there's the opportunity to leapfrog. So you don't need to go through the industrialization. So from traditional society to a postmodern society, and based on knowledge and innovation and creativity. So I would like to now introduce three key concepts that are pillar for my proposal. So the first one is a startup. So there are two definitions. The first one is startup is a company, so that work on solving consumption-related problems for consumers, and that has no guarantee to succeed. So that's the definition. I am for the second definition, which means startups is a kind of culture, mindset, and mentality. So where you all the time in the process of testing the waters and challenging and exploring. So that's my understanding of startup. So the second definition is the business incubators. A business incubators is in a sense a facilitator that affords affordable prices, affordable spaces, sharing services sharing services, and also providing people with marketing supports, and in some cases to provide the startups with some sort of funding, of finance. So that's it. So now I'm trying to bring the startups concept and the incubators to the academic incubator startup, to my project, my proposal. So, but for me, the academic incubator startup is not a academic spin-offs, because academic spin-offs are defined as university, as a new company founded on an intellectual property that is created in an academic institution. So my proposal is not a university spin-off. It's not based on research in the first place. So I would like to put you in the vision and mission statement of my university, American University of Sharjah. So American University of Sharjah will be the region's leader in higher education, known for its excellence in innovation, in teaching. So there is innovation in teaching, research, learning, and service. And my proposal actually is based or embedded in this American University of Sharjah mission statement, which highlights the concept of innovation and creativity. So in the United Arab Emirates in 2014, they started what they call the National Strategy for Innovation. In 2015, they declared the whole year for innovation and creativity. And in 2016, our Sharjah started a concept or initiative about entrepreneurship. So it's Shara. So they started in 2016. So these are to put you in the local context of my project. So my idea is very simple. So the idea is my space or my startup incubators is not a classroom or a cluster of classrooms. So from the very beginning, it's not about traditional teaching. It's a space conducive to creativity and application of creativity in innovation, and it facilitates innovative and disruptive ideas. So last week I started thinking of disruptive ideas, not innovative anymore, so it's called disrupting the business model of many things. Even maybe to disrupt the concept of traditional universities. So the big question, university should transform itself, otherwise it will die, because if you don't adapt, you will die for sure. And by extension, I'm not librarian, but also libraries should also start thinking of the new future, which is now actually, and then translate the concepts. Here I will give you an example from my students. So it's not about class projects. So the incubator is about having client real-life projects to turn them into business ideas. And it's about also connecting the current students with alumni, to bring, for instance, alumni to talk to the students, inspire them most of the time, because they act as role models. And it creates a kind of community. Here we need to capitalize on the digital platforms, social media and digital platforms, because our students are there. And it turns our campus into really an incubator. So the objective of this idea, briefly, the first one is to refine an action learning approach where creativity should be at the center of all learning and teaching activities. So courses should be designed to inspire, to make students creative, but my understanding of creativity is not a generic skill. It should become a second nature of the students. So they should perceive problems from the creative approach, and innovative and creative approach. The second objective is to improve the communities. Communities are very important for students, especially digital communities. We need to think now how to bring these digital communities into physical one, to real life one. And the third one is to identify and raise awareness of the digital technologies and the opportunities they can open for our students. So we need all the time to benchmark what we are doing. So I have three concepts or three pillars: creativity, innovation, participatory culture. So creativity, we will measure the quantity and quality of disruptive ideas we produce in this incubator. Innovation is the application of these projects. I repeat myself again, it's about the client-driven projects, so which means we will have a client, a real-life client. They will come to the university, talk to the students, give them a real project, real-life project, and then the students should work on the project. So there should be a kind of co-supervision between the professionals and the teacher, and at the end the teacher should present. Time? Oh, 1 minute, okay. So, okay. Just to give you one minute, I would like to talk about this slide, and that I'm sorry for. So I would like to focus on this concept is actually to make the transition between university and job market very, very short. Because when we send our graduates to job market, we don't need much time to be part of the community of professionals. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. And I'd like to introduce you Aziza Ellozy, the founding director, Center for Learning and Teaching, American University in Cairo. Please.
Thank you. I just need my, you know where my, okay, hi. I just wait till they start, so my 8 minutes start ticking then. Go ahead. If you close this, I can tell you what's in the folder there. This one. Thank you. Okay, hi. My talk is going to be back to what we were talking about yesterday, the LMS. But this time I'm going to be looking at it from the perspective of faculty development. And my collaborator on this project is Caroline Mitri, one of my colleagues on the CLT, and she's not here today, so I'm doing it in both our names. And I guess I'm going to use my finger. All right. So what the whole project started off by the CTO of AUC asking us if, in fact, the LMS which we use, the Blackboard, is being used effectively or not. And so our interest was, it's not really is it effective or not, but is it a way for us to see what the digital literacy or the digital know-how of faculty, would this be an indication of it? Because typically, if you ask the normal faculty, the benchmark for their technology integration is the LMS. Okay, so our question, the research question was, could we get information regarding the digital know-how of our faculty if we follow the digital footprint as shown by the analytics of Blackboard? And so we know from research before that really, like for example, the Horizon report, one of the challenges for universities and colleges is the low fluency of faculty, digital fluency of faculty. That is something that is recognized in the United States and certainly, I think, all over. And one of the challenges also is to improve it. So we also look at what ICAR in 2014, they made a study of 70,000 faculty in the United States, 150 institutions, that what they found is that although 85% of all faculty use a learning management system, yet less than 50% or 41% of them report using it to promote interaction out of the classroom. So our question was, well, what about AUC faculty? And we did two things. We had quantitative data from the learning management system, the Blackboard, and qualitative data from the focus groups. But as it turns out, when all of this was taken into account, we still didn't have enough information. So we took some data that we had, supplemental data from workshop surveys, and I'll tell you all about it in a minute right now. But I just want to say something, that to access and analyze and interpret the analytics that are in Blackboard is a pain in the neck, right? It is slow, it's cumbersome, it is manual. And when we tried to ask Blackboard to give us that data for 2 semesters, they said it's going to cost between $24,000 and $36,000. So that takes care of that, all right? So I have to thank my colleagues in the CLT, as Awad, Mahajawi, and Caroline Mitri for having spent the time to clean up that data and to come up with some coherent things. And this is the cleaned up data, how it looks typically. And when you analyze it, you really find out that 89% of what faculty use, the data is to put things in there. It's more of a repository, all right? The other thing is the accessing grades and then a little bit of announcement, a little bit of email. But out of the 19 active tools that are included in Blackboard, only these 3. Announcements, email, and accessing grade center are the ones that are used. So, if you have the numbers over here, we did it over 2 semesters. About 1,500 classes, 50,000 students, and almost 700 instructors. All right, so that was one of the results. The other thing, obviously, the LMS is not used, all right? It's underused. In the focus groups, and we had Dr. Iman Suleiman in one of the focus groups, okay, we had 2 focus groups of about 12 or 13 faculty, and we looked at the comments after that, and they were divided into 3 groups. Comments about the LMS, comments about the tools, and certainly resistance about changing anything, all right? So the comments about the LMS, they looked at these, they commented about the aesthetics, they commented about the structure, they commented about the teacher-centeredness of it, and I'll give you some comments over here. Miserably dull, boring, not as clear. The cool, not user-friendly, they wanted to be more intuitive to navigate like the iPads and iPods, and it enforced the hierarchical structure of the classroom. The tools, again, not nice things, but basically they didn't like the quiz tool because it was complex. Some of them didn't like the grade book because, again, it is a clunky grade book, and the discussion board they found confusing. All right, so all of that, it doesn't look like we were using it very much, but they don't seem to like it very much, except for maybe the basics things. But please do not change it, all right? It's painful. I think it's a waste of time to start with a new LMS. And if you are going to invest time in something that is really significant, it has to be really different, all right? So keep your hands off of it. All right. The other thing is, well, this was the data we get about Blackboard. Well, what is happening? How are they using technology? Because if you look at Blackboard, it looks like they're really not doing much. And so we went into and used some of the data. The data we did over here was in a workshop that we repeated about 9 times this semester, and we had asked them an open-ended question. So it was a very informal thing. They answered the question about in 1 or 2 seconds. It's not an elaborate thing that they reflected upon. And there were about 182 responses to the question when, why, and how to use technology. And we looked at it, Carolina and I, and lo and behold, they lose a whole bunch of other things. Look at that. Simulations, Facebook, blogs, wikis, everything, but outside of the LMS. Most of them seem to be using it outside the LMS. Right, so we looked into the actual responses and tried to code the responses. I coded some of it, and Caroline coded the other. We compared notes and we came up with 6 categories. Right, they use technology, not necessarily the LMS, but they use technology for facilitating teaching and learning, management, communication, student engagement, assessment, and feedback. Okay, in what proportion? Well, this is how it comes out. They see themselves, 64% see themselves as facilitating teaching. It's easier to teach that way because things are being done. Some of them seeing it facilitating learning also, and one of them said research. Management, certainly, they're managing, it's a good tool for managing the class. Communication, you're starting to drop a little bit, okay? And then when you go to engaging, assessment, and getting feedback, from these responses, it wasn't as much. Okay, so if I have to summarize everything, right? There was an article in EduCourse by Malcolm Brown, for those of you that know him and others, and I picked up one sentence in there that very much summarizes at least for Blackboard. It says, it's highly successful in enabling the administration of learning, but less so in enabling learning itself. And if I summarize what we just said, it's underused by our faculty. They don't use the advanced features because they think they either cumbersome or they don't know about them. They are satisfied to use the basics. Okay, that's fine, but if they want to use something a little bit more, they go outside. Certainly, the analytics from Blackboard didn't say much. They didn't tell us much about the reality because they're using much more than what's on the Blackboard. And finally, although not totally satisfied with the LMS, AUC faculty do not want to change it. Okay? And finally, I'm going to end up my talk by quoting Jim Broom yesterday, when he was saying big systems do not account for individuality. When they want to find their way, they find their way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of them, for all of us, for all of you. Sorry. And now we have 10-12 minutes for questions, and we have some questions online but they have answered in Twitter, and we can have question now to our colleagues, please.
I have a question.
Anguelina, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question to Aziza. So, what do you do then?
Okay, I guess we're not going to change the
Aziza,
Okay, sorry. I guess it is going to make a lot of people anxious if we do go to something else. I was thinking of piloting Design to Learn because this is something that was offered to us, but if it's really not very different, then what's the point? We don't want to make faculty angry. I don't think we're going to remove the thing, but it is a pretty expensive thing. I would suggest that to look at those 19 tools and just keep the ones that we want if it reduces the price. If not, we just keep at it and still work with a lot of faculty and enhance in terms of faculty development. Or you can do a lot of things without Blackboard. To be honest with you, Blackboard is a convenience, and that's it. But it's really, I personally don't think it's great, but I use it. I think it's convenient, but it's not.
Can you repeat the question that was answered on Twitter? So, I think it's just
okay, maybe I will
read the question and
It was question for Kim Fox. Do students choose what to include, or is all work placed in portfolio? Kim, can you answer this question? all of us. Yeah.
The students do not get to choose because the assignments are all graded. They do get individual feedback, again, on the assignment and how to make it look visually appealing on the e-portfolio. Of course, after the course, they have the option to amend their e-portfolio as they like.
Okay, thank you. Do we have other questions? No? Yeah.
It's not a question, it's more about comments. It's related to Aziza, so I'm from American University of Armenia. Thank you for your very interesting presentation. So we are experiencing the same problem with Moodle, so I don't think any faculty will be really very happy with any kind of LMS. So there are lots of authoring tools that you can always adhere to and use together with LMS. So even if we do any surveys, so maybe 80% will be fantastically happy and the other 20% will just shame us why we have decided to attach to any kind of LMS. So I don't think there will be anyone extremely happy, satisfied with any learning technology and tools.
In the article that I'm referring to, the article that I was referring to, the EDUCAUSE article that says what's next for the LMS, they have, if you want to read it, it's really a very ambitious architecture that allows for management, a part of it is management, but the rest of it is more personalized and very, tools that are enhancing learning and tools that can change, because we're back to individuality, and so until then.
Any more questions? Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for